My female brother Nate, nearly adult male, was diagnosed with IE disorder 5 years ago. At first, I walked on eggshells around him, but things are much better now. Although most family members know and understand that IED is not just tantrums but a serious issue, some do not. One of my cousins, Kira, nearly adult female, is one of those people. Ever since my parents informed the family about Nate being diagnosed, she has done nothing but intentionally pushes buttons at every family gathering, outing, or whenever we are together. My parents have talked to my uncle and aunt about this, but they brush it off, calling it pranks. Now my parents will not, under any circumstances, damage relations with my dad's brother and his family, or my dad's other siblings. None of my other cousins like Kira or her family. We are forced to be cordial because of our parents. Kira has to be invited every time our cousins hang out together, most of the time ending with Nate being triggered by Kira. The day before yesterday, we all planned to watch a movie. Our parents knew this, so of course they told Kira's parents, who told her. She messaged me and asked me where and when we were all supposed to meet. My brother had been really looking forward to this movie and meeting our cousins after a few months in person. He had also been in a really good mood, and I didn't want Kira to ruin it, so I did what I thought was best at the time. I gave her the wrong time. I told my cousins and Nate what I did, and they were fully on board. After the movie finished, we came out of the theater and waited in the parking lot for some time. As soon as we saw Kira pulling over, waving at us, all of us waved back with the sweetest smiles, made a run for our car, got in, and left. As expected, when Nate and I returned home, we were immediately ambushed by our parents about why we abandoned Kira. Apparently, she had cried all the way home. My parents grounded Nate and me for 2 weeks. He surprisingly took it well and said it was worth it. Unfortunately, the rest of my cousins were grounded as well. I did text them, telling them that they could tell their parents it was my idea, but my cousins refused and reiterated what my brother had said. I thought that was the end of it, but my parents have been really hurt by this and said Nate and I humiliated them in front of Kira's parents, and that Kira has been inconsolable since. P.S. I didn't invite her, my parents did. Also, if I tried to refuse to invite her, my aunts, uncles, and parents would not have let us go. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She can dish it, but she can't take it? Tell your uncle and aunt it was just a prank, and you don't understand why they're overreacting. They don't mind when their own child pranks others, so what's the problem? Same for your parents. It was just a little old prank, Papa. You know, like when he does that to Nate. Your parents need to understand that their behavior isn't okay either. They need to be good parents and actively protect your brother against Kira and her nonsense. Unfortunately, all the adults in this story are such hypocrites, so it only counts when Kira's feelings are hurt, not when Kira is purposefully an idiot and hurts the people around her. OP, I hope your parents learn from this. Not the idiot. Using Kira's parents' logic, you can just say it was a prank. On a serious note, you did what you had to do to protect your brother. Kira was purposely causing him harm, and the adults weren't protecting him. Imagine if what you did to Kira that one time happened as much as Kira tantalizing your brother, especially seeing as all your cousins were on board. Definitely not the idiot. Your point here is a very good one. OP was willing to take the blame but instead got solidarity. Clearly, all the kids are on Nate's side. Significant difference. It's not about OP, but what Nate needs. And they all took it on the chin and all banded together. That speaks volumes in my opinion. My 29 female, older brother, 31, started dating his wife, Anna, 30, back in high school. Since they started dating, our families began to get really close. Our parents were really good friends, and I had a good relationship with her brothers. I had such a good relationship with her older brother, Mark, 33, that we got married 3 years ago. So our families were always very mingled. My mom and my mother-in-law used to be close friends. Then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked, when Anna got pregnant. She didn't have any issues during the pregnancy. Where we live, Illinois, because of the restrictions, Anna could only have one person with her during her stay at the hospital, which includes the actual delivery and until she and the baby would be discharged. The problem is, Anna wanted her mom and my brother there, but she chose her mom, which made my brother very upset. So they got into a big argument that went on and on for days. It escalated when mother-in-law got into a fight with my brother, which got my mom into the fight, which got father-in-law into the fight, which got my dad into the fight. It was a disaster. The previously good relationship got unbearable. My brother eventually asked everyone to stop. He apologized to mother-in-law and things returned to normal. It was very awkward. 3 months ago, Anna delivered a beautiful baby boy. Things were fine for a while. My brother and Anna were having issues since the baby was born. He was sleeping in the guest bedroom since then, and he was a bit cold towards her. My brother apparently decided that he no longer wanted to stay married to Anna. He separated from her last week and is staying with our parents. Apparently, he's already looking into a new house, and he only visits Anna to see the baby and only speaks to her about their son. She is in shambles. Mark and I tried to talk to him, but apparently the only thing that could fix their marriage is a time machine. My brother is very hard-headed, and once he has something in his head, it is really hard to dissuade him. He only wants a co-parenting relationship with Anna. Once he announced that he was getting a divorce, our families went crazy and all hell broke loose. Her family is absolutely furious with him, and by extension, me. They are demanding that Mark and I cut my brother off, forcing us to pick Anna's side, forcing some sense in him. On the other hand, my family is going absolutely insane with the way that her family is reacting. They got into an enormous fight, exchanged a lot of really harsh words, and no one is speaking right now. My family demands that we cut Anna out of our lives. Both of our families are demanding that we pick a side. At first, my husband and I were set on remaining neutral on this one, but it's so bad at this point that we were not invited to Christmas from neither family. So I'm starting to feel conflicted. Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. It's unfair for anyone to expect you to take a side. You can be in both of their corners and support them as they try to co-parent this baby. Your brother must have other reasons for divorcing. Related to the birth, certainly, but maybe it highlighted a problem or problems. I know we're all supposed to support the mother gets to pick who's their thing, but I frankly think any woman who chooses someone other than her husband is setting a tone. Same here. Like if her mother has been planning their wedding, picking out all the styles, Anna goes to her first for advice on all the major decisions. He only gets to hear about what Anna thinks after mother-in-law has been consulted. I can see why he'd be vexed and say, "Screw this, I'm out," after being excluded from the birth too. And from the way her family tried to meddle in their divorce, it's almost certain that they were the meddlesome type during the marriage too. Not the idiot. Stay neutral. If neither family invites you for the holidays, celebrate just the two of you. Do not cave in to these crazy people. Honestly, Anna destroyed her marriage when she kept her husband from being there for their child's birth and the immediate days after. I would never have been able to forgive her either. But that's between her and your brother. No one else should be involved. Not the idiot. You have a happy marriage, and your older brother and Anna clearly do not. Your families choose to put a strain on your relationship over something that is basically no one's business. Relationships stay between the couple. So in this case, between your older bro and Anna. I'm the fighting type, so I'd tell them off if it was me and remind them that you don't know what happens behind closed doors. My sister has 2 sons, and they have an issue with being, as I call it, selfish eaters. Let me explain what I mean by that. We have regular family dinners. Everyone takes turns. Most people serve food on the table for everyone to take. Well, her boys attack the food and take much more than they'll ever eat, and then let it go cold. Or they will eat little pieces of everything, leaving it uneatable for others. So I started to serve everyone plates of food to try to combat this, but they will take food off other people's plates. My sister will watch and say nothing, and they just stick their tongue out if I say anything. It's worse at their own house, where they will sometimes just pull the whole plates over to them and refuse to give anyone something until they've decided what they want. I have spoken to my sister many times. I gave her 3 warnings and warned she was coming close to the limit. Well, I had everyone over for dinner last weekend. My older nephew ended up taking food off of my daughter's plate, off of my father's plate, my husband's plate, and my younger nephew took food off of everyone's plate. He was running around taking what he wanted and making a huge mess in the process. I told my sister when dinner was over that they were not going to be invited anymore. She called me a witch and said that her sons deserve more and that I'm excluding them for petty reasons. I told her I also wouldn't go to her house, that I always leave hungry anyway. She told me only an idiot would make this big a deal about food, that we can always just get more. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. This behavior is unacceptable, and it's not about whether there's enough food to go around or not. It's about your sister's refusal to teach and enforce basic manners as a parent. I've phased out, limited time spent, or straight ghosted parent friends whose kids were unbearable to be around because of their poor parenting. But since this is family, cutting them out isn't an option. You addressed the problem directly and gave her plenty of time to attempt to correct the behavior. She refused. You held your ground. Good job. Since this is family, cutting them out isn't an option. Says who? Granted, I get that it can be complicated when you have other family members and relationships to consider. Sometimes it's better to endure a bad family member to keep the peace with the ones you actually care about. But cutting them out is always an option, and sometimes it's the best one you can take. Not the idiot. You tried to intervene, and you tried to communicate. In the end, not having dinner with your sister's kids anymore is really your only option, and she's in complete denial and way off base. It's not about the food. It's about how these boys are making everyone else feel when they act this way. She's also lazy because all she would have to do is take their plates away and send them away from the table without eating. They'd learn real fast if that became the policy. My brother and his wife suffered from not having kids for years. It impacted them greatly. They loved the kids in the family but always wished to have kids on their own. Lately, we got busy with Megan's tween health problems. We've taken her to the pediatrician, and from there, we've learned that she has cancer. It was so devastating. I didn't want to tell my family right away. Most of them have chronic conditions. This type of news might trigger a negative reaction because they love Megan and give her everything to see her healthy. My friend suggested using Facebook, but no. My husband and I decided to gather the family at my house this past Wednesday to announce Megan's diagnosis. My aunt didn't take it well because she holds Megan dear, so she was rightfully the most devastated one. After a few minutes of complete silence, my brother started moving in his seat, saying he wanted to tell everyone something very serious. He was hesitant, but then he and his wife stood up, and he said they just found out that they were finally expecting. The family was conflicted. Some got up to congratulate them, and some remained seated. I remained seated. My brother then approached me and expressed how sorry they were for telling us under these circumstances, but said he couldn't wait since this is a huge deal for them, after years of waiting, and because everyone was present. Literally everyone, since I said the announcement we wanted to make concerned Megan. I argued with him about how he thought this was an appropriate time. I asked if Megan mattered to him at all, since he didn't take a minute to realize she was just diagnosed with cancer. Instead, he started reminding me of how many years he and his wife suffered from frustration and disappointment for not being able to have kids. He then argued that because he wasn't able to be a father until now, he's 37, he felt he was missing out on so much for so long, and that I didn't have to congratulate them, but should at least not guilt him for feeling overwhelmed and excited to finally be a father. He said I knew exactly how much he adores Megan, and I shouldn't even think otherwise. Then he said he was just sharing good news after hearing the bad news, and there was nothing wrong with that. I told him and his wife to leave my house right then. He said he won't argue anymore because of how upset I was, but will expect me to apologize at some point. Some of our family agree with me, but my parents think I shouldn't have taken my anger out on him, and that he'll always remember my reaction to his news, and I should apologize after I've calmed down. Am I wrong here? Your kid has cancer? Too bad, but anyway, I've got some great news, folks. You are not the idiot. I'm not sure what possessed him to think that was an appropriate time to announce that. I understand his excitement, but there is a time and a place for that, and it is not when you're talking about a cancer diagnosis. Good news after the bad news? Nope, not necessary at all. I'm not sure what he expected. First of all, I am so sorry about Megan. You sound like a great dad, and I'm sure she's happy to have you. This one stinks, but not the idiot. Your brother's troubles suck, but at the end of the day, it was not appropriate for him to take over your announcement like this. It was a time for Megan and everyone to support her, and he took that from her. I get what he was trying to do, but he should have run it by you first. Not the idiot. This is the epitome of read the room. That gathering was about you telling your family about Megan's diagnosis in a loving and supportive environment. It was very selfish and tone-deaf of your brother to hijack that and not be empathetic to your feelings or the rest of your relatives. That being said, I do think that in his mind, he was doing a kind thing by sharing happy news to cheer everyone up. He was wrong, and his actions were extremely inappropriate. Still, I get the impression he was so consumed by his own life event that it colored the lens through which he viewed others' emotions. It's not an excuse, and he definitely owes you a big apology. Still, I really don't think his actions indicate a lack of caring about Megan. Also, my absolute best wishes to your child. I, 27 female, evicted my cousin, 34 male, from my house almost 2 months ago. We got into an argument and he left. However, I still sent a formal eviction notice with the stipulation that he also changed his mailing address by the end of the 30-day notice and gave him until the end of the 30-day notice to collect all of his belongings. The official eviction/change your mailing address date was over a month ago. He did not change his mailing address. For the first 2 weeks, I would bring his mail by his mom's house, my aunt. But after, I stopped and just started writing "does not reside here, return to sender," and putting it back in the mailbox. I didn't think I should make a habit of driving 20 minutes one way and then back just to deliver his mail to him all over town. Since my cousin and I are no longer on speaking terms, my aunt called and asked if my cousin had gotten mail from a specific place because he was waiting on something. I told her I don't know. I don't really look at where the mail comes from, and told her I've been sending it back. I don't go out to my aunt's regularly, so bringing the mail there would have been inconvenient, and my cousin is the type to report that I was withholding his mail from him. My aunt thinks I'm the idiot because it wouldn't inconvenience me that much just by bringing it by, but I don't feel obligated. The fact that my cousin tried to get me fired from my high-paying job for evicting him didn't work makes me just not want to deal with it. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your cousin is 34 years old, and he's still asking for mommy to help with basic needs like getting his mail? Filling out a change of address form is easy. It's time people stop coddling him. And oh, if your aunt does not think it wouldn't inconvenience you, she should drive to your house to get his mail then. Not the idiot. That's cousin's responsibility. Cousin's laziness doesn't require you to pick up the slack. It may have been best for you to have texted the aunt real quick that you were returning to sender. Side note, I bought my grandparents' house about 6 months ago. Several of my aunts and uncles apparently had been sending a good chunk of their mail here and just picking it up periodically. I asked them to do a mail forwarding or change of address. Only 1 of 4 did, so I've been sending mail back as well, though I sent texts so they know. Not the idiot. It doesn't matter how convenient or inconvenient it would be for you to drop off the mail. You aren't their mailman. Your cousin needs to stop being lazy. They need to go through the postal service to update their address. You gave them plenty of time to do so. If they have important things coming in the mail, then they should not have been so lazy. Their laziness isn't your problem. Since your aunt doesn't think enabling her child is an issue, she can go through updating the mailing address for their grown child.